30,000 subscribers. I'm having a glass of wine. Thanks a bunch, everyone. Better than food, man. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Better Than Food Book Reviews. I'm your host, Cliff Sargent. 30,000 subscribers this morning. Very exciting. Day after tomorrow, I move to Detroit, Michigan. So, as you can see, there is very little in here. There's an echo now. But it kind of fits the mood for this one. Minimalist, sparse, melancholy. So, you know, let's cue up the Eric Satie and get right to it. Dr. Glas by Hjalmar Söderberg, I think. Definitely butchering that pronunciation, but this was sent to me by a Danish fan named Christian. Christian? I don't think it's Christian, but I'm sorry for butchering your name, man. Anyways, thank you so much for passing this along. I loved it. I'd never heard of Hjalmar. I hadn't read any Swedish fiction, especially from this era, which is turn of the century. This was published in 1905. Susan Sontag, an author I love very much, called it a searing masterwork of Northern European literature. This is a short, dark little novel of melancholy obsession. Right up my alley. The novel is the journal of a Stockholm resident, Dr. Glas, a 30-something man who is not suited at all to be a doctor, as he's highly critical of other people and disgusted by much that comes along with the profession. He takes walks, admires sunsets in Stockholm, and he writes by candlelight. He's lonely, he's introspective, he has trouble sleeping, he's depressed, he's lost meaning in his life. He wants to live. He wants to take some sort of decisive action. He becomes fixated on a patient he dislikes. This priest he sees on the street sometimes, Gregorius. The priest comes to his office to talk about his heart. Well, good evening, Pastor. How are you? Not so good. Not really so good. My heart's weak. Pounds unevenly. Sometimes at night it stops, I think. Delighted to hear it, I thought. Die all you like, you old sod. Then I'll never have to set eyes on you again. And what's more, that beautiful young wife you doubtless plagued the life out of will remarry and get herself a much better husband. But I just said, oh, indeed, really? Then you might drop by one of these days and we'll see what we can do. And that's before all of this goes down. You know, so he hates this guy from the get-go. You wonder about how many doctors you've seen who are actually thinking this about their clients or their patients or you. Who knows? I mean, doctors are people too. You know, they can't remain divorced from being just as fallible as anyone else. So maybe it's better not to think about what the doctor is thinking. We probably have to shut that part of our minds off to function. One day the priest's wife comes into the doctor's office. I'm not sure why, what the era was where priests were able to marry or what, but anyways, the priest is married. His wife one day comes into this doctor's office, and Dr. Glas learns that she's having an affair. Because of this, she can't stand to be touched by her husband, the priest. And the priest, Dr. Glas learns, is raping her. He wants to help her. He wants to allow her to be free, free from this priest who not only is she disgusted by, but so is he. Glas is unconsciously falling in love with the priest's wife as this is all happening. He's sympathetic to her struggle. Dr. Glas's love life is essentially non-existent. He's struggled with it deeply in the past. It's this deep desire to be loved that he's carried inside him for a long, long time. And when he was younger, he kissed a girl at this celebration in the woods, and then shortly after that, she drowned. So he reminisces about this experience, and he seems to feel that life has simply passed him by. And while these things come easily for other men, such as the man this woman is having an affair with, it's never come easy for him. So now he's found this potential action he's been searching for. So we can see in his journal, he struggles with the voice that says yes and with the voice that says no. And we're allowed to see both of them played out. Glas is not normally sympathetic. Again, he's critical. He's almost misanthropic, bitterly cynical at best. So the novel is this inner struggle with this man. Should he commit the murder? Should he not commit the murder? There's this total banality to his life until this potential reaches him, this potential action. He's obsessed and paranoid. It's similar almost to The Telltale Heart by Poe, but it's far more understated. So he decides he's going to kill the priest and save the priest's wife from this oppression. He decides he's going to poison him with a pill of potassium cyanide that he mixed himself. A near instantaneous death and indetectable without an autopsy. Remember, this is the early 1900s. And he has several more pills for himself, just in case things go wrong. So he decides he's going to kill the priest, but then he talks himself out of it. He loses his nerve at one point. He gets his chance, but then he's horrified at the repercussions or what might happen. And so does he do it? Does he not do it? It's a classic story, but I've never read something quite like it. Again, it's journal entries. It's an epistolary Scandinavian Gothic novel. It's this melancholy voyeurism that seems to be a recurring theme in Söderberg's novels. It's strikingly easy to read and reminiscent of a darker, decadent tone like Huysmans. Joyce Carol Huysmans, who did Against Nature and Là-bas. Two of those, if you like the sound of this, you should definitely check those out. But it's not verbose or excessive at all. It's really, really surgically cut. The writing is beautiful, especially with all of the descriptions of the city, Stockholm, at dusk, and the weather and nature. And he's always describing the rain falling and the sun setting. And this, of course, is mirroring his mood where he's at. It feels like a novel, like a story that's always taking place at dusk, taking place at twilight. Like the music of Erik Satie. Really, it fits perfectly. And Erik Satie was actually playing music around that period too, around the same time. Again, you can definitely see the Poe in here. Tales of obsession like The Black Cat, The Telltale Heart, or The Cask of Amontillado. All of those come to mind, but this is far more subdued. The Doctor's unconscious desires begin infiltrating his dreams. The soundtrack to Vertigo by Bernard Herrmann would work nicely with a film adaptation. It feels a little bit like Dostoevsky's Notes from Underground. The highly critical, insecure thoughts of this man, pointing out all the flaws in society and the world and the inconsistencies in the search for truth and meaning and so on and so forth. Margaret Atwood, whom I haven't read at all, wrote a nice introduction to Dr. Glas, which I highly recommend checking out. But she also mentioned among the Poe and Dostoevsky as influences also Ibsen, whom I haven't read. So if that means anything to you, awesome. I like to compare the atmosphere in novels to films. It felt like, of course, the first one is Ingmar Bergman films, but then also, maybe Carl Dreyer, the Danish filmmaker. Eerie, black and white, slow, melancholy, inner turmoil. It felt dark in a way that is iconically Scandinavian. So let's talk about some of the major themes. The first one, of course, is loneliness. Loneliness and shy men, kind of approaching the middle part of life. He's in his mid-30s or so and feels like he's just missed the boat on everything. I think for some folks, it can be very easy to fall into a career and just miss all these wonderful things in your 20s and 30s. And that's what's happened to Dr. Glas. He was ambitious. He described himself as ambitious in the beginning, but then sort of just stopped at one point, didn't really feel like going further, and just sort of coasted and just did his duty. It's so unfulfilling, and you can see it's just eating him away. His whole inner life is just corroded, and he's become so bitter in the process. I think this is a famous passage from the book. People want to be loved. Failing that, admired. Failing that, feared. Failing that, hated and despised. They want to evoke some sort of sentiment. The soul shudders before oblivion and seeks connection at any price. And a lot of the book is about that. You have to have somebody whom you can be honest with. You can't wear a mask forever, I think is how the narrator puts it. You have to have some sort of authentic, honest connection. You have to have somebody who knows who you are. Even if you're horrible and nobody else can know it, you have to have at least some people. Men and women go insane otherwise. We go insane if we can't be honest about ourselves with others. We go insane. It's too many secrets. You just can't function that way. So loneliness and mental anguish and disillusionment with the idea of the truth. You must not get to the bottom of things, or you will go to the bottom yourself. Do not seek the truth. You will not find it, and you will lose yourself. Thou shalt not ask. All the truths that are of service to you, you will receive. They are mixed with errors and lies, but that is for the sake of your health. Undiluted, they would burn your insides. Do not seek to rid your soul of lies. It will lead you to such things as you have never conceived, and you will lose yourself in all that is dear to you. Thou shalt not ask. Yeah, it's a happy book, I know. Pessimistic at best. It's shocking to think about how many people are going through this. You know, the quiet struggles of men and women. Just loneliness in general is such a killer, you know. That and major depression, you know, depression and loneliness. I mean, these things are plagues, basically, and silent plagues. And that can lead to addiction, it can lead to this, that, and the other, you know. But with Dr. Glas, he's so reserved that nothing ever really goes past a certain pitch. So it makes his struggle with determining whether or not he's capable of murdering a man all the more intriguing, all the more intense. And it really hooks you in, and you're going, you know. Especially like the journal form too, you know, because several days pass in between these passages, so you don't know what's occurred. You never really know everything that's happened. You gradually find out. And that's one of the brilliant things about Söderberg's structure that he's created, is that, you know, you're anticipating what's happened and you never quite get all of it. It seems for the most part he's trustworthy, but then again, you know, is he? I mean, how objective is Dr. Glas? It is incredible to read books like this from that time. I mean, it's so accessible. Translated from Swedish in 1905. I mean, and it could have been written in English tomorrow. It's also similar to French existentialist fiction from the 20th century, you know, so Camus' The Stranger for sure, but it's similar to a lot of 20th century novels, you know, in its exploration of the interior life, of the quiet, tragic struggles of individuals. There's that haunting factor, you know, I mean, it's not a ghost story, but he starts living a ghost story, you know. Hjalmar Söderberg was a Swedish author born in Stockholm in 1869, died in Copenhagen in 1941. He looked a lot like what I imagined Dr. Glas looked like. So if you're a fan of any of the European novels from the late 19th century, early 20th century, this is definitely for you. If you're a fan of French novels, fin de siècle art, the Surrealists, Huysmans, maybe L'Autrement, Rimbaud, Baudelaire. If you like dark meditations on life, death, truth, meaning, failure, read it by candlelight in the pouring rain. It's a good time. I won't spoil the ending. You can find out for yourself. It's a short book. I love novels like this. I don't know. I think I just kind of gravitate towards the interior life of people descending into madness or obsession or lust or love, or the idealists, the tragic idealists, the people who want things that just don't exist. It's all just him walking and talking and thinking and having philosophical conversations with friends, and which is what I think are some themes of his novels, like the characters who sort of do that, who just sort of like wander around aimlessly and observe society and think about it and make critiques, or, you know, have these profound insights, or at least they think they're profound insights. It's very self-centered, very self-absorbed, egotistical. But I mean, it's his journal, you know, so it's all about him, you know, it's his inner thoughts. It's not meant to be, you know, anything but that. It's a brilliant structure. It's a brilliant platform for it. I imagine this was probably really unique at the time as well. 1905. God, it just blows my mind. But now I want to go watch a bunch of Bergman films, Ingmar Bergman films. I think, you know, what is there? This Persona, Wild Strawberries. I haven't seen Wild Strawberries in forever. Persona's a great, great film. Great film. Through a Glass Darkly, Seventh Seal, of course. Oh, I love Ingmar Bergman. Love that guy. God, what a hell of a filmmaker. Who's going to get it? Who is going to get Dr. Glas by Hjalmar Söderberg? Oh, yeah, I should probably tell you about the coffee lottery. So if you go to patreon.com/books are better than food and donate $5 or more per video, then I will place your name in this mason jar. And whoever's name I pull out of this mason jar, I pull out a name for every review, they're sent a hard copy of the book I'm reviewing and a bag of coffee roasted by yours truly. That's my spiel. Yeah. Thanks a lot to everybody who's donated, and best of luck to all of you. Really appreciate it. Now who's going to get it? The last review from Florida. Oh man, I am happy to get out of here, let me tell you. Stayed too long at the beach. Oh yeah, all right. Will. Thanks, Will. You're gonna get Dr. Glas. Really appreciate it. And some delicious coffee. If you would like to get in on that lottery, you can head to the description box below, click the link. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram, and if you give me a like on Facebook, I'd sincerely appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. 30,000 readers out there. And who knows if all of you who haven't subscribed, yeah, you ought to do that. Always remember, die reading, take care, talk to you soon, have a good night. See you in Detroit. Ciao.